sir. You all right? Again.
Excuse me, folks, if you're here for the retirements, those kind of things, unless you have something on the agenda, we're gonna ask that you guys wait out in the lobby, and when the retirement issue, when that comes up, we'll ask you to come back in so we can maintain social distance. Appreciate you.
I'm gonna ask that Mr. Tellis and the daughter be able to stay, because we're gonna get this done in just short haste.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'd like to welcome everyone here to the Jefferson County Commission meeting for August the 19th. But before we begin that, we have our meeting of August the 6th, which was carried over. I need to reconvene that meeting and ask is there any particular business that needs to be transacted from that meeting. Hearing none, that meeting is now adjourned. Ms. DeLaBerca, would you call the roll for the August 19th?
Commissioner Hammond,
Here.
Commissioner Knott,
Here.
Commissioner Scales,
Good morning.
Commissioner Tyson,
Good morning.
Commissioner Stevens.
I'm here, thank you very much. Invocation today will be given by Mr. Tyson's office. Michael, would you mind having the prayer and Barnett Wright, would you lead us in the pledge?
Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning with an uplifted spirit, knowing that all things can be accomplished as long as we keep you in the center and we make sure that all of our thoughts, all of our deeds are done thinking of your son Jesus and the many blessings that Jesus shared with all of us. Now, Lord, we want you to guide this county commission to make sure that the decisions and the votes that we make here affect all citizens, and make sure that everyone is represented here, and that love, respect, kindness, and above all, Lord, love again. These and many more blessings. We ask in our Son Jesus' name. Amen.
Attention, salute, flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both. Next, we have presentations. Commissioner Wright.
Ms. Tellis, would you please join me? Accompanied by your lovely daughter and wonderful husband.
Thank you.
Glad I didn't get that reversed. Gives me great pleasure this morning to present to Ms. Tellis this resolution. Michael, would you open the door so that her good friends and colleagues can witness this? Resolution, whereas it's the policy of the Jefferson County Commission to honor and pay tribute to those who have impacted our community and our lives for the better. Whereas Sandra Tellis was first employed by the Jefferson County Commission in the Department of Revenue in 1987. And whereas, I was just a little boy. Whereas in 1988, Sandra Tellis transferred to the Sheriff's Department and served 7 years helping to keep our citizens safe. And whereas in 1995, Sandra Tellis transferred to the Purchasing Department, where she has worked for the last 25 years. And whereas Sandra Tellis has experienced many changes in the county, but has remained dedicated, loyal, and faithful to her duties as a Jefferson County employee. And whereas Sandra Tellis' advice to her finance, purchasing department family is trust in God always, do your best, diversity is what brings people together. And whereas, as an employee, Sandra Tellis' most memorable moments are participating in sing-alongs with coworkers, performing for former coworkers' retirement as a group, helping provide poetry and ideas for retirement activities. And whereas Sandra Tellis standard, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, according to Matthew 7:12. And whereas Sandra Tellis is known as a genuine, kind person with integrity and always strives to do her best. And whereas Sandra Tellis is retiring after 32 years and 10 months with Jefferson County Commission to enjoy her family and embark upon new adventures. And whereas now, therefore, it be resolved by the Jefferson County Commission, we congratulate Sandra Tellis upon her retirement and express much appreciation for her 32 years, 10 months of service to Jefferson County. So that's 32 years, 10 months, 2 weeks, 4 days, 3 hours. Adopted by the Jefferson County Commission in Birmingham, Alabama on this, the 20th day of August, 2020. Ms. Tellis, I give this to you, signed by all of our commissioners. Of great appreciation for all you've done for this county. It's been a long time. You've seen a lot. And we just hope you have fond memories as you go. And I know your colleagues are going to miss you, and they appreciate you. And, you know, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Have a few words.
Now you get 30 minutes.
Well, you won't have to worry about that. But I just want to say, I thank God, most of all, for the opportunities that He's given me since I've been here, and for getting to know so many kind people, especially my purchasing division. They are some wonderful people, and I'm going to miss them terribly. So, thanks so much. And my husband, Robert Tillis. This is my husband of 42 years.
So I want to say to you, Ms. Tellis, it's a beautiful, first of all, to follow behind that prayer. And I didn't know what had been necessarily written, but I want to tell you this, you're right to do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. So that being fulfilled, then I would say to you, especially as one who is a believer in the Bible, that you go and be blessed. Know that every seed that you have sown, that God will return it back to you 100-fold. You're entering into a second chapter of your life. And may your latter days be greater than your past. Enjoy your family. We appreciate your service. But God has called you to now be a wife, to be a mother. Not to say that you haven't been, but you can dedicate your time fully to the folks who love you. We can appreciate your work. They appreciate who you are. So I want to tell you that, Ms. Tellis, as the President Pro Tem of this commission, I thank you from one woman to another woman. I thank you for all of your commitment. And yes, ma'am, I've been married this year be 29 years. Oh, it is 29 years? You've been there 42. I got milk, you got rust. And your husband wants you to enjoy your life and enjoy your family and time together, okay? So just thank you again for all of your hard work. And it's something when you can cry when your employer, your colleagues, they know you're leaving, and then you all cry. I didn't know exactly what was going on when I first came up. I said, well, that's unusual. What we got all these people out here for? But that's a blessing. So that's my prayer for you.
Thank you so
is
much.
that you go in and you enjoy life
Thank
and
you.
have that life more abundant.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye. Congratulations.
Thanks again.
Bless you.
42 years.
Yes.
Ooh, man. Yeah, I'm a newlywed, I'm only 36.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we do, we do live,
Is Willie here?
Maybe in the morning.
He leaves big shoes to fill.
really breaks your ground.
Willie says, I'm done. I've already told you guys I'm retiring, so I'm gone. I'm out. How are you?
Good
Oh,
luck.
Willie, don't disappear again.
You know, it's and Commissioner Scales, I agree 100% with what you just said. That the time and effort that they put in here, they are appreciated for the work that they do, but their families appreciate them for who they are. And it's hard to sometimes see how some institutional knowledge, we're able to let that go. But let me read the certificate of retirement. Greetings by all men and by all those present, that in recognition of loyal and dedicated performance of duties as an employee of the Department of Information Technology Services, the Jefferson County Commission is indebted and honors Willie Wright in appreciation of 30-plus years of dedicated service to Jefferson County of retirement, presented this day. You know, IT has probably come and gone in different formats. You've probably gone from cards to a little bit of everything else. And we sure do appreciate your time that you spent here. I know it's probably been trying in some instances with the bankruptcies and all that, but with what you guys have been able to do over the many years of making sure that this is a secure place for us to do and do our work and our jobs, and especially with the pivot you had to make with COVID. It's a phenomenal job, and I know Sheree is very proud and probably sorry to see you go, so Sheree, you will say something.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just want to recognize and appreciate the service Willie Wright has been working for Jefferson County Commission for almost close to 31 years. And one thing I want to really recognize is he was part of one of the first IT employees when mainframe was set up in the county. And also, he was supposed to retire last year, but he was kind enough and wanted to work with us because we are almost at the end of transitioning from mainframe. So he stayed put for about a year plus, and he has also seen that we migrated from mainframe to a new technology. So he has seen from the entire spectrum of all the technologies that has been working through the county. So we really appreciate for his efforts that has been working through across the board within all the departments within the county, and truly appreciate for all the service we have done. And we have Maurice Myers, as manager here also. You want to say something?
I just want to say, certainly after all these years, it's a testament to intestinal fortitude in IT. In IT years, Willie is 100. Because it's 3 times what it takes to get the job done, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. Willie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We want to go ahead and make this presentation to you, and sure do appreciate your time. I always gauge it by if anybody knew my father, when my dad was director of budget management here, that goes back more than 30 years. But knowing what he dealt with and getting his computers and everything for budget management, I don't see how we do it, how they did it back then. And you being one of the first, you need to write a book on how things are done. Would you like to say something?
Please.
It's been an honor to work here. I actually started in '78. It was when the first ID department started up, so I knew, all the new people, and it was cards systems at the time. I left for 10 years and pursued some other interests in education and came back in '94, complete my 30. So I have seen the county go a whole long ways. And it's always been a pleasure. I've met a lot of people, friends. I personally don't know enemies, so it's really been an honor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back in the 70s, I took a course, a computer about with Fortran, I think, where you did the cards.
Actually, in '78, they had just got their first Unisys mainframe, which I also worked on in the Air Force. So it was pretty common knowledge for me. But it was COBOL at the time.
Right.
And so it was
Come a long way.
come a long ways, yes.
Wow. Thank you for all
Yes.
all what you've done.
Sir.
Hey, some of these commissioners here say they were still in middle school.
Sir?
They say they were still in middle school when you were doing that.
Yeah.
Can you come to the microphone, sir?
Right.
That'd be elementary school.
No, I was asking for you to go to,
Oh, okay.
over there, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
So let me just tell you, as a pro tem, how I really thank you. I believe that post-COVID, or since we've been in COVID, but definitely post-COVID, we're gonna have to lean and depend on technology like we've never done before. I think our level of communication has been challenged, and yet it's been advanced in a very short period of time. And so I want to thank you for your committed service to the county. I mean, I will say this, if you can get spam through our IT system, I'm telling you, you got to be a world famous. And so you all have done such a fantastic job in that department. And I really appreciate you. And most of all, 31 years is a long time to really love doing what you do. So again, I say to you, just like I did Ms. Tellis, that your latter will be greater than your past, and just enjoy your life. I think that that's probably where I am in my own life now. I'm under 50, but I'm learning how to smell the roses because we know that, tomorrow's not promised, so we got to enjoy today. And so I'm glad that you're healthy enough to be able to enjoy your life. that you didn't retire at a time when you kind of just moseying on along. You know, go and take you some trips when you can and do those things that you've been desiring to do. So God bless you and thank you for your service so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Does Sheree have your cell number?
I kept the same number, so all you gotta do is call me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Guys, thank y'all. All right, commissioners. We have the minutes from our commission meeting on August the 6th. Do we have any additions, corrections, or revisions? Or may they stand as read?
I move we dispense the reading of the minutes and adopt them as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very much. Next on the agenda, we have 79 resolutions. I know that the chair would like to pull number 1. Cal, did you take care of 13 and 14?
Yes, sir.
So they're good to go. They were held up in the Senate. Commissioner Tyson. In item number 60, we need to carry that over, Derek, to the second meeting in September.
Yes, sir. The 24th of September would be acceptable for that item.
24th of September, second meeting of September. So with those explanations, the chair will entertain a motion for resolutions 1 through 60.
Hold on.
I would
Mr.
like
President.
to move the resolution stated by the president, but I would like to pull item 47.
And I 47. Okay, so we have item number 1, item number 47, and item number 60 will be up for separate consideration, and with the path carryover of item number 60, the deletion of item number 1. So what we're going to do is item 2 through 60, with item number 47 being pulled for further discussion. And item number 60 will be carried over to the 24th of September.
And what did you say for item number 1?
Well, actually, we pulled that yesterday in committee. It just kind of got back
It
over
just
here.
got back up,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and it was pulled in committee. And
Yeah, so it should have never been on the
It should have
agenda.
been on the agenda.
Okay. All right.
So, all right, we have a motion. Do we have a second anymore?
Second.
No second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Tyson.
I stated yesterday about item 47 when I first got on the county commission. And they said that they would swap out the lead on the auditors. I had an opportunity, I talked, I really didn't understand exactly what John Henry was talking about. So I went into further discussion with him, so I went and I came and I talked to Jimmy, the president at the time, he still is the president. I talked to Commissioner Knight and I talked to Tony Patel. They said, yeah, there was stated. So now we come back. They want to give Avery a 3-year contract with minority participation was the reason why they wanted to swap them out. Now, if it was good when John Henry was here, I understand that we made the decision, but y'all should have said that when I came and questioned y'all about it. So I can understand that we have a new person that's over budget and finance now, and they might need help. And I can understand a year, but 3 years, that's totally blocking them out for 3 years. And I can understand that you said we can come in and change it after 30 days, but if you ain't keeping your word, when you said you was gonna swap them out, what make you think you're gonna keep your word after 30 days and you can swap them back out? I just don't agree with that. So I'm not saying it for y'all to go back and forth with me because I know you got your vote. But I want the public to know. The reason this was done because of minority participation and we are not receiving it now. And that's a statement I wanted to make.
Mr. President,
Oh, Commissioner Shedd.
let me say this. Item 47 basically deals with our auditing, since we're talking about for public consumption. And so we have a majority company, which is Wayne Avery, versus James Finley, Banks and White auditing. When this was brought to my attention on last year, let me do say this as well. The CFO, Chief Financial Officer, does not and did not make a decision on behalf of the county. What was worked out, my understanding, so if there are any votes that would be against the Sunshine Act, if there are some votes that we haven't discussed, especially being that we're in this meeting and no one's supposed to be talking to anyone about votes, okay? But do let me say this. You cannot say that you are about changing the climate of brown, black people, disabled, women, groups at Jefferson County and still continue to have the same kind of policies in place. So my objection this morning, let me be very clear, is that the county, and I wish Mr. Patelis was here this morning because I made sure I had a clear understanding that this firm would be considered in a way, because they have already, meaning Finley and White, have already previously done work for the county, except they were doing the small portion. And this time they would get the opportunity to at least be equal to their counterpart, okay? And then I was told, because Commissioner Tyson asked me to come to our office to meet them, I'm familiar with this firm, auditing firm, just by virtue of the fact that they have done work over at the city, which is where Commissioner Tyson and I came from, city of Birmingham. But I'm going to say this, because I'm going to dig my heels in on this today. There is no need to have a compliance department if we are not going to allow ourselves to change the way we do business here at this county. It is unacceptable. I'm going to keep saying it. And let me just say this, and this is not a threat. Let me be clear to say that. If we don't change the policies, then I am going to call a press conference, because I think that maybe everybody needs to know what we know internally. We are window dressing the issue that those 4 categories are still not being addressed. And then when you say 1 year, I would have been probably, even though I wouldn't have liked it, like I told Mr. Patelis, when the county gives its word should be bond. It shouldn't be circumstantial, it should be bond. And there is no quote unquote, and I shared that with our new CFO, that I'm not going to throw you under the bus, I meant that. But let's just say this is no new conversation, not even with her. Everybody knew in this finance department that this firm would be considered for the larger portion of this contract this time. Okay? And so change is not change until you change the policy. Now, if you told me that they were unqualified for some reason, I get it. But if for any reason at all, as president, they go for you and every member of this commission, if they are qualified, we will not continue to window dress this consent decree. I'm not going to ever vote in favor to have a compliance department if we are not going to comply with what we claim to be changing around this place. And when you say 1 year, I would even bargain with you 1 year. 3 years, that means that we would have changed as a commission by the time this comes up. Our election is in 2022. You talk about 2023. That's very unfortunate that that's where we are. And I'm telling you, we're not going to represent the melting pot of this county until we get our act together and we start being honest with the disparities, not only in the way our communities look, but the way we address them and opportunities for everybody that comes in this place. If they are qualified, I want to understand why is it that we are not giving folk the opportunity to do so. And I will tell you this, and Mr. President, I'm going to address this with you. The owner of that firm was highly disappointed with knowing that they had an understanding, not only from staff, but from Mr. Patelis and from some of these folks up here, okay, on this commission, that this contract was good. All they had to do was to wait until we got into this fiscal year. I think that's unfortunate that when we put something in writing or we say anything, that if it's circumstantial, we'll change what we say. That's not right. And I think Commissioner Tyson and I have overwhelmingly voted to support items on this commission that were Republican-led, and yet we still voted for it because we knew it was the right thing to do. And I agree with you. I listened to you yesterday. I may not have felt well, but my eyes were good. And you talked about item number 1. Well, Mr. President, I'm in agreement with that. Okay? But a part of being in agreement with that, I'm also in agreement with this. That if people don't honor what they say they're going to do, that's what you talked about yesterday. If they don't honor what they say they're going to do, Mr. President, then why in the world will we continue to engage people as though they are doing what they say they're going to do? Now, I'm hoping that we'll rethink our position on this today if we have to delay this item. But right is right, Mr. President. And if we said it, it was agreed upon, and God knows, please don't continue to, we can thank these employees, Mr. President, when they come before this dais. We can thank them for their service all day long. But the minute they're out of this door, their word doesn't mean anything. The last I checked, John Henry was a county employee. He didn't speak from where he is in Hampton. He was a county employee, and it wasn't him that said it. That's why I'm glad Commissioner Tyson said that this morning, that she spoke to you. I didn't speak to you, but I know she spoke to me about it and asked me to come to her office to meet with this group. So if it's going to be this way, Mr. President, then I'm saying we have no reason to continue to engage people that if we're going to be on them about their word, but we can't hold our own, that's unfortunate, Mr. President. Now, I really pray and hope that you rethink your position and everyone else that's sitting here listening to me, because that's what happens when we have conversations and then we don't regroup and start informing, not votes, but informing one another that these conversations have been had. So that's why I'm saying that, Mr. President, Commissioner Tyson and I wouldn't have any reason to be dishonest or to lie. I'm just trying to figure out, she had a conversation with you, I know she had one with me. I know I've had one with the county attorney. I even told him that I wanted to understand how is it that it had changed. What changed it? And as a matter of fact, I wasn't told about 3 years at that point. I was told that our current CFO recommended that, okay? But I don't want to throw her under the bus because she just got the job. But we can't tell people to wait until the time comes, and when the time comes, then we deny them the opportunity. It doesn't matter what we say, Mr. President, that's discrimination. And if we're going to get out of this consent decree, we're going to have to honor what we say. We cannot window dress. And I know that Commissioner Tyson, when she says that she's talked to you, she talked to you. And I know she talked to me as well.
Commissioner, you've pretty much addressed me throughout this entire thing as Mr. President. Mr. President has one vote on this commission. Mr. President has not talked with our current CFO or had any conversations with our previous CFO concerning an audit. I do know that a county employee cannot bind this commission. It requires a public vote, and we are about to have that here today. to promise someone certain things is wrong.
Mr. President,
You cannot, no, I've got the floor right now, you had it a minute ago. It is wrong. It is our CFO's recommendation, our current CFO's recommendation, to maintain our status quo with our current audit. Am I correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, so.
She said she was willing to do a year. She did say that.
A year is fine. I'm open to that, but I am not going to go against what we have and work with some deal that was struck by a previous CFO saying that we promised to get this done and do this. Now, I have always been a proponent of switching audits. We've had this audit firm for a good long while, but the recommendations in an open meeting of our CFO to make sure that someone who had been promised by a previous CFO gets taken care of. That will not happen. Now, with that being said, all right, Commissioner, you can say that, but I think we need to go ahead and close this and vote.
yeah, well, once she finishes, Mr. President, and I want to speak to that.
Because when the CFO, John Henry, he did not promise them.
Thank you.
The commission that was here, it was you and Joe was part of that commission. So y'all are on the two left.
And the commission did not promise anything.
It was you in that meeting. It was Joe Knight
No.
and Tony Patel
No.
that confirmed that that company, Jeff White company, would be swapped out with Avery. Now, that's what I was told, and when I asked y'all about it, y'all said I do remember that. Yeah, that's all you said because you already knew you had it, you weren't gonna do this. So I'm through with that. But she did say that she was willing to do a year yesterday, it's in the minutes. She did say that, but then y'all, when I put it on the floor, y'all shot me down. But I'm finished with it, I'm not gonna be sitting up here arguing with y'all about something that y'all know y'all doing wrong. I have that type of temperament to do that, and y'all know y'all wrong. And in the law of the county, you supposed to switch out auditors after a certain amount of time. You've been doing it for years, but when it come up to this company, you don't want to do it. It's just, it ain't right, and you know what, I'm just through with it. But you know it ain't right.
So, Mr. President, before you call for the vote or call for the question, let me say this in this person's, and I am speaking of John Henry in his absence. It's amazing when you start talking about defamation of character. First of all, he never cut a deal. He doesn't have a deal to cut, and neither did he cut it. Now, I'm trying not to be offended with what you said or what you're implying. There was no deal cut. Just like you are taking a recommendation of a person who worked under John Henry. Let's be clear for the record, because we got media in here. At least one that writes whenever he's in the meeting. Okay? So let me be very clear. This current CFO worked under John Henry. Okay? John Henry didn't cut a deal. You may not like the fact that he got a job offer after there was a meeting. John Henry got a job to a national organization that he didn't even apply for. You know, once we start talking about the sewer, right? Okay, so I don't want to go there with that, but for the public record, let me be very clear. The current CFO is not unaware of this company. You said it just then, Mr. President. You said we've had them for a long time. Now the publicist in me, not the elected official, but the publicist in me would say, if I were a reporter, I would ask the question, how long has Wayne Avery had this contract? And if they've had this contract for at least almost 10 years, Mr. President, then why would a minority firm not be given the opportunity to now, at least, especially if they have the capacity, to do the same contract? So that was what John Henry was charged to do, was to see if this company could be allowed to do this contract. That was what John Henry was tasked with. And now we want to throw him under the bus because he's not here. But see, I'm not going to play a head game, because one thing that I do know is that anytime you are talking about, Mr. President, it's just like Commissioner Tyson, Anders, and myself were not here 2 years ago, right? But every decision that is made by this body is a continuous body. So if it's the sewer debt, we can't divorce ourselves from it because we weren't here when that vote was taken. And so let me be clear for the record. That was not a deal struck by John Henry. That came through the finance department by way of Ms. Patelis knew about it, and I told him that. I also told him a couple of weeks ago that if we said it, we should make it good. And I am amazed at the fact that we're here today talking about a 3-year contract, in addition to not allowing this firm that we gave our word to. That's interesting, Mr. President. And I'm telling you, if I'm ever called into court, I will use this as an example to show we're not changing the stratosphere of the way the county does business. If Wayne Avery has had this contract at least 5 years or greater, why could you not? Being that this company has already shown that they are able to do it. They have the capacity to do it. And I'm just telling you that that's not right. And if it's not right for them, it's not right for anyone. And I remember, let me just say this in closing, Mr. President. There was a company that came here just a couple of months ago. And I remember saying, my goodness, you're getting a 74, 75-year agreement? Who in the world does that? I remember I pointed that out in this meeting. And it's okay when it's for some folk. But unfortunately, when it comes down to others, it's not the same. It's wrong, Mr. President. I'm not going to let this commission forget that. Commissioner Tyson and I have been committed to doing some things that we weren't comfortable with doing. And I want to make sure that even the finance chairman knows not only were you consulted, Mr. President, but in addition to that, according to what I understand, you agreed that it was fine to do. And now today, you're not doing it. And that's what happens when we get around here and turn one another against each other. Okay? But I'm telling you, it's not only not right, I'm going to make sure, Mr. President, that some other folk are going to know in the places they need to know that we're just window dressing this consent decree. We have not changed what we're doing. And so I'm going to say that and let that go. But in light of John Henry and any other employee that we dance around here and tell them they do a fine job until they get out of the door. And once they get out of the door, and I'm saying that to you too, Madam CFO, you leave from here, they're going to throw you under the bus as well. So I'm just telling you, I don't like it. And I'm telling you, Mr. Chairman of Finance, this was not a deal brokered by no John Henry. I know the meeting I came in on, and that was not the case at all. And people in that finance department, they know that was not the case. I talked to Mr. Patelis, he knows that's not the case. So if that was what was communicated to you, Mr. Chairman, they're not being honest. But you don't have to be dishonest to not do business with a firm. It would have been better had we said, let's wait until the following year, let's see where we are, and then we will establish what we're going to do to proceed forward. But to tell them to wait, you got our word. Please, by all means, Mr. President, do not throw John Henry, who happens to be a black man, under the bus because it's a black firm that we're talking about today. Now, one thing about it, Mr. President, nobody, not even Office of Public Information, can out public relate me. And I'm telling you that you knew about it, and these other folks, you know about it, and you're not being fair, you're not being equitable, you're not being right. And I'm going to change it from right to I don't see equality here. You think that it's okay for the same company to have a majority of that auditing contract, and then you want to use the new CFO to basically say, we're gonna justify with what she says. Well, if she that new, then why are you going by her recommendation? John Henry was here longer than she is, or she was. Okay, so why does what he says now don't matter? And it's the same one you taunted, and you said, Mr. President, that, you know, he did such a fantastic job that it led us through bankruptcy. Now his words don't matter. So I'm gonna tell you one thing, Commissioner Tyson, she don't have to scrap with you, but I'm telling you straight up that, Mr. President, I'm not gonna let this one go down without it being known to the public, because when Mr. White called me to say what happened, I could hear the disappointment. Sometimes people hold us to a higher standard than we know. And when we don't honor our words, it can take the living breath out of it. I have no personal dealings with these folks whatsoever. So let me make sure that's known for the record, because we're being recorded. So you won't have to have no ethics charges with me. I don't have nothing personal with them. But I do take exception to the fact that when it came down to a black firm, which is in the consent decree, not as African American, it says black and women, that this firm was not told by an employee. Tony Patelis is over all staff, and you know that. So the staff did nothing undirected by the county manager's office. And to say now it don't matter because we got a new person and she's only been there since June. That's not true. She's been here for a couple of years now, my understanding. She just got appointed to that position in June. Okay? So I don't understand how a person who takes over that position for 2 months can overrule and override someone that was here more than 3 years and led this county through bankruptcy. And if his recommendation, and let me say this very clearly, Mr. President, Commissioner Tyson and I didn't give a directive to staff. He was directed to make sure that this firm and any firm would be considered for this contract. So if his word at that point was good, I'm trying to figure out on the record why is it not good today. And if you all got your votes, then I'm gonna question the sunshine law, because it seemed like somebody been talking, and last I checked, you can't have serial meetings. So I'm just trying to figure out how we feel that in the room. And I'm done with that, Mr. President. But I wasn't gonna let that go about John Henry cut a deal, because he didn't cut no deal. And everybody on this dais, we know it. Whether you sitting on the floor or on this dais, John Henry didn't cut no deal. Yeah, so you may throw him under the bus now and you think that he's of no longer use. But I can tell you this much, that, Mr. President, I'm not gonna let that be said about any county employee. The truth is the truth, whether we like it or not. Now I'm done.
Thank you. Well, as the finance chair, I'm not gonna say, because now we're talking about defamation, we're talking about furthering the consent decree, discrimination, but as the finance chair, I didn't even know that Finley Banks and White were, this was ongoing, about them taking over the audit until a certain time, and I'll reserve that. So don't put me in a position to where I'm part of something that I was not part of, even though I was the finance chair. But I did go to the present CFO, the acting CFO, as to this year, to do this audit during this time, and this was their recommendation, that we go to this firm. I didn't talk about a 1-year deal. I didn't talk about a 3-year deal. I just said this term. So if I just want to, it just makes it sound like there's some sinister activity going on. But I'm just kind of makes me curious about, well, how did this even come about in the first place? So, well, I'll reserve that. But as a finance chair, I wasn't involved in making a promise to Mr. White, Mr. Finley, Mr. Banks. They never came to my office. I never met with them. I wasn't in any meeting to discuss changing the firms. I found out about it after the fact, when I was meeting with our auditors, and they relayed to me how this came about with them. So that's where I'm gonna stop, and if I get deposed, then I'll have to talk more, but that's just where I stand. But I wasn't involved in anything sinister, trying to underhand, trying to discriminate. I'm trying to focus on getting this county as the finance director through this year, and holy cow, it has become more and more problematic with COVID. So I'm going to continue to do that. And we can brouhaha all we want. But I think a statement was made about me being in a certain meeting, and that's not true about this firm. So that's all I'm going to say.
Mr. President, if we're gonna move on the item, I'd like to give a substitute motion, Mr. President. Then we can vote up or down on the main one, but I'd like to offer a substitute motion, Mr. President.
If you have a substitute motion, let's hear it.
I'd like to move, Mr. President, that the item that is before us, that this contract be for 1 year, a 1 year term, and subject to evaluation by the commission at next year's budget time. I agree with you, Joe, on that. So, Mr. President, you said you're comfortable with 1 year, so if we can do 1 year, Mr. President, I would move at this time for us to do 1 year and for it to come back before this commission for review at that time.
Can I ask a question based on that motion? Just about process?
We have a motion on the floor, let's,
Okay.
do we have a second? We have a second, now ask the question.
What, if we did this for, what's the normal process for, is there doing an RFP or a bid? I mean, it seems like there was just a not having any knowledge of what's been going on. What's the process of selecting an auditing firm? Should we go out and do an RFP or a bid? What's the process that we would do if we did a year here?
And when should we do that?
Yes.
Because we have to.
Professional services are not required to be bid. If we choose to do a bid, I would recommend we do it very early so that we could transition before the budget period, because transitioning auditors does take more time, and we still have the requirement for reporting in March.
So what would your recommendation be on, I mean, we would have to start that immediately, and what's your recommendation on, I mean, you did this with them before, right, in your previous position?
We work with Bankston & White on our single audit, and we
Right.
work with Warren Averett on the capital audit.
Okay.
We work with both firms. We have a good relationship with both firms. Because of the pandemic, and you have obviously more retirements, there's a lot of moving parts. And so I don't want to put the county in a position where we're not able to get our financials out by March. So that was my recommendation. As I mentioned yesterday, the contract that we have presented was a 3-year contract. It was, I think, delivered to the county probably in the spring. So when I made the recommendation, I did look to see, hey, do we have to be bound by a 3-year contract? And there is a 30-day termination. So I was comfortable, and I deferred to the commission to give us the direction.
But the firm that's been in question here today is currently working with the county, is what you're saying?
Yes, and we will make a recommendation to keep that relationship, like we said. I just don't have a contract for them that has worked through the system. It still has to be reviewed by the personnel board and then bring back to the commission.
All right,
Did you get your question asked, the commission?
Yes, ma'am.
okay, we have a substitute motion and a second. All in favor for the substitute motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Is anyone opposed to it?
Let me just say this. All right. This is May I, Mr. President? This is a 3-year, I didn't put this agenda item on. I don't know where the 3 years came from. I don't oppose it, but I don't necessarily support it. I don't have a problem with going to a year to year. So I'm just saying, where did the 3 years come in? Does anybody know? Okay.
I think it's just a standard contract that they had provided.
Okay.
And we're doing year-end, and so it's August, our year-end is September. Normally, we have started the audit process right by now, and it was just timing.
Well, and two, a concern I have is the next time we do a budget, we don't have a clue where we're gonna be or how we're gonna stand. And I wouldn't want to come in and just totally change the way we do an audit if it's different. Now, I don't know, I'm not an accountant, I'm not an expert in auditing. So I don't have a problem with doing a year to year. But at the same time, I do have a problem if we're gonna go from a difficult year like we're doing this year to probably a more difficult year next year. I hope not, but possible. And then change our whole system to where the audits have been done this, and I know they've been with us a while, I get that, and they've been consistent, and you can go from year to year. Now, if we bring a new firm in, is it
That's
gonna?
not a new firm. They already doing audits with us. They do the small audits.
I understand that.
So they know what they do. They know our books and they know our.
I understand you're an advocate for them, Ms. Tyson, I
It
get
ain't
that.
the point that I'm an advocate.
Yeah.
It's the point that's what's right. And they know what they doing.
My question is, will it be consistent, in your opinion, Ms. Dixon, that it will be continuous and that we can be progressive as far as each year? I guess accounting is accounting. I mean, is there any difference in what one firm does as opposed to another?
They're both bound by the same standards.
Okay, so,
Is there a reason for having, like we have now, we have 2 separate firms? Is there a reasoning for that?
yeah.
It predates me, it was something that we already had in place. I don't
There's
see a problem with
always-
the current relationships.
Those checks and balances, it's best to have 2 different firms that are doing that. You get to that position, at that point, where you need one audit firm looking at another, at the other audit firm, and you have a crossover in some of these. Now, I think that White does the compliance audit, am I correct?
It's for the federal audit, the federal grants that we have, so it's the
Grants
same
and
audit.
compliance audit. And he's been very good at that,
Yes.
coming through. So,
So, Mr. President,
yes, ma'am.
in all fairness, sir, then if they're good at that, and the former CFO with the current CFO thought that they could be able to do the capital portion of it, and Wayne Avery do the compliance part of it, I'm trying to figure out what is our issue. And do let me say this, because Commissioner Knight, you brought up something very critical. I have since known, ever since you had this committee, everything seems to dance around you. You only find out when folk want you to find out. That's why you probably didn't know. But I will tell you this. John Henry didn't make that decision at all. There was a conversation at the same time last year you were being disrespected with the budget. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. And folk were having all kind of conversations and you weren't included in it. But at least now, if you're talking about 1 year, this will allow Commissioner Knight, who is the chairman of finance, to run his own committee. So he knows from the start of the conversation. I will say this, that's probably one of the most committees that I can say that when one person or the chairman gets the information has been delivered to make sure that the whole entire commission gets the information. So that's all that I'm asking, is that if we would entertain 1 year and bring, by all means, bring the chairman of the finance committee in on the conversation. Because staff was directed, Commissioner Knight, to court this, now I want to say court, but to not necessarily investigate, but research the ability for this company to be able to do it. It's just, unfortunately, I see the politics playing out right now. But it is coming at the expense of a word that was given to this company to wait until we got to this time. So that's all that we're saying, is that if Commissioner Tyson and I will at least agree to say, hey, if you want to give it to Avery this year, then let's do 1 year, bring the committee chairman, which we get ready to do these bonds, whether we want to hear it or not, for sewer, bring him in on the conversation on the front end, and then he's making a more informed decision. The truth of the matter is, since you were not, Mr. Chairman of Finance, brought into the conversation when you should have been, that's why you don't have the truthfulness of what transpired. So that's all that I'm saying, is that if we're willing to at least say a year, and we come back and look at it before you make a multi-year agreement, at least let's see the pros and cons of being able to do it. Both companies are qualified. I'm with you, Commissioner Hammonds. I'm not even opposed to if you put it out for RFP. But don't let it be where one particular entity can just have this contract for as long as they like. That's not the American way. And I know that that's not the county's way, at least I hope not. So they've had it for a long time.
And I want to say, just following up on that there's never been a problem with this firm as they've had it. I mean, it's not.
They're a good firm.
Yeah, they are. And so I want to just make that clear. I'm not saying, insinuating anything. I'm just saying they have done a good job, and they've been through it with us through some tough times. So,
May I, real quick?
yes, please. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry.
Anything about a 3-year? It just says for 2020.
Yeah, but the backup, the
Okay,
supplemental information.
That was on there yesterday.
Okay.
The supplemental
All right.
information, yeah. It's 3.
So basically, we just passed 47.
We moved to the agenda,
Right.
the 1 to 2.
But the backup says 3 years.
It said,
All right.
you remember when you voted on Tuesday?
Commissioner Knott, you have some items in new business?
I do. I've got a couple of items for new business. One is an informational piece, and Ms. Burke's been very kind to sit here and listen to us very much. But she has an issue she needs to discuss about a stormwater issue in subdivisions, and therefore I'm going to defer to her instead of trying to interpret, because I would get lost in the
All right, if we're going to, is this a presentation?
No, it's just a quick update that she
An update?
yes,
Okay.
that she needs us to consider.
Thank you, Commissioner Knight. We do have one ordinance that we need you all to hear on September 10th. I know that's also your budget meetings, but it is an amendment to our subdivision regulations for our post-construction requirements of the MS4 and PDS permit. We have to have that adopted by the end of September. I'm concerned that if we move that item to the 24th, that if we do need to make any tweaks to that and bring it back to the commission, we will not have time to do so prior to October 1. So if we could keep that one particular item from Development Services on for September 10th, it shouldn't be controversial. We are essentially doing the minimum requirements of the 8M permit. We are mimicking the other local governments, with the exception of the city of Birmingham, which because of their urbanness are more restrictive. So we don't foresee any controversy with that. But if we could possibly keep that on September 10th, it would be appreciated.
Which happens?
It is still in minute track.
Yeah.
It is not on this agenda, but it will be something coming to you for September 10th.
What is it, if you don't mind saying to me? Because I'm looking for the item, and I said I want to be helpful.
It's a stormwater issue on the MS4
It would be Article
permit.
14.
Yeah.
Stormwater.
It will be on your agenda for September 10th.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. I just think that's something we need to know that's coming, and I appreciate the deference to her, Mr. President. I have another item of new business for consideration. Is Mr. Moore out there for tax collector?
I saw.
Mr. Moore? You have presented an item of requested for new business. Can you give us a brief overview about what this is and why it needs to be on this new business today?
What it is the final settlement with the state of Alabama.
Tell them who you are.
I'm Scott Moore with the Tax Collector's Office. I'm the manager of tax collections.
Okay.
And what it is, we got behind because of the COVID issues, and the timeline for presenting every bit of this information got a little bit behind. And due to some constraints, the state of Alabama agreed to move this to August 31st, but we had to allow the Board of Equalization and Tax Assessor time to get the new tax roll completed for the coming up year. So it just hit that that we could get this approved in the last week or two. So this was the final commission meeting before that is due. So we just need that signed off on, and it's just reconciling items to why our figures, what we sent the state of Alabama during the year, don't equal what we should have sent them. And those are the reconciling items, which are insolvent businesses and errors in the assessments and those kind of things.
So I would move for this to be considered for new business by unanimous consent.
That's move.
I have a motion and a second. Or that's your.
We already did it.
Go ahead, you done a good job.
We already did it.
Well, you got.
Oh, we gotta do the unanimous consent.
Right, it's the last time to call the roll.
A motion and a second, been made.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Aye.
Commissioner Scales,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson, Commissioner Stevens.
Yes. Now, Commissioner Knight, be it resolved, Jefferson County Commission, that Commission authorize the execution of 29 tax year state figures for insolvents, errors, assessments, and litigation to receive credit final statement with control.
Right.
Is that it?
Yep.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve that.
Move the item?
Motion been made and second. Ms. Dillon-Burkett.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Aye.
Commissioner Scales,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson, Commissioner Stevens.
Yes, that's that. Any other move?
I have 3 items of new business. If I may, that I should have gotten to yesterday, they're grants. I know we did 3 or 4 for you, Ms. Tyson, 3 or 4
Is
for
that
you.
out of your district?
One of them's from the Public Service Fund, and 2 of them are in my district. One's
What's the public service fund?
that's the
Well, I'm saying, what's the item?
it's for a public service grant that we had done for Independence Place in the amount of $10,000.
Oh, okay.
That was
Chair will entertain a motion to consider 3 new items of new business.
Move the item?
Motion been made and seconded. Ms. Dillon-Burkett.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Aye.
Commissioner Scales,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes. Commissioner Knight, present your item.
One is Independence Place for a public service grant in the amount of $10,000. The other one is a community service grant in the amount of $10,000 to the city of Clay for a roof on the pickleball court. And the third item is a infrastructure grant through my district to Ruffner Mountain for in the amount of $15,000 for various items that they're doing out there. And they're all been through the process, and they're at millage desk, so they're all checked off. I just didn't get them on yesterday, so I'd ask for a motion to approve the
Move
3.
the item?
Been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now, call roll, I'm sorry. New business.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Aye.
Commissioner Scales,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson, Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Anything else? Where is Mr. Patella? I don't know where Mr. Patella is.
I had something, Mr. President.
I'll get you in just a second.
Commissioners, he had a call he had to be on.
I'll call and he had to
Yes, sir.
He could have been, he should have been able to have been here to answer some of his questions that were presented. Perhaps we can do that another time.
But then it don't work. That was
Let it go, Jerry, please.
No, he was there yesterday, and he didn't say
No,
nothing.
he know what he wants.
So you don't want to
What do you want?
If you didn't question him yesterday, why you trying to do it today? It's too late. He was sitting up there, say one word.
So, Mr. President, I do want to say, I want to thank the commission as a body about what has transpired out there in Fairfield. I want to thank, not Fairfield, excuse me, Forestdale, about this humongous dump site. I do want to say thank you to everyone, all of the staff. Cal and Heather has done a super fantastic job, but we couldn't have got there without Theo and all of the work that he put in. The health department, ADM, and it's just a lot of folk that were really just all hands on deck. And I remember when we first got started, everyone thought that it would take 2 years to get this done. But with the fabulous team of Jefferson County and all persons involved, this thing is finally coming to pass. Helen, if you like, Jacob has some video that you can be able to show the public. But I don't take credit for this alone. It was an action of the commission. And we got a lot of work to do. We know we're spending a lot of time out there. But, you know, when you have to live in a smoke-filled neighborhood, I just want to say thank you on behalf of those residents that Jefferson County came to the rescue. They don't have a local government, so they have to depend on us. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to tell everyone from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
I want to make an announcement.
All right, Mr. Tyson.
Let everyone that the census will be in Brighton. We will be in Brighton from 4 to 6 doing the census. Is that today, Mike? Yes, ma'am. It's today. We'll be there from 4 to 6. My staff, along with HICA and the Census Bureau, we will have people out in Brighton reaching out to the hard-to-count area in that area. And our next stop will be Midfield. We'll be in that area. We're going down the road. We have September the 30th deadline date. And we are reaching out, and the numbers are going up, but it's important that when you fill out your census, I want to say that every time I get an opportunity to talk to the public. So we'll see you there if you want to participate.
Mr. Adams.
No, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Knight. Did he just step out or is he gone?
No, he has to go. He had to go.
He had to go, okay. We're good. This meeting is now recessed for